Hi, welcome everyone. It's Sayin Like It Is. It's Toit and Rob Moore. And glad to have you all back, and we're really happy to be here. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. The more of you do that, the more we know you like us. Rob, before we came on air, I actually tweeted that I'm going to be chatting to you and saying like it is, and asked anybody wants any questions. And as usual, these guys are on the ball. Great questions. Here's one from Sydney. Will Rob ever own a football club again? And if so, South Africa or overseas? I think I know the answer.
Peter, owning a football club was one of my great experiences in life. I loved every minute of it. Monday was either the best or the worst day of the week. If you won, it was the best. If you lost, it was the worst. And when you won 3 games in a row, you thought you'd never lose. When you lost 3 in a row, you thought you'd never win.
I'm sure.
So it was a super experience. I would love, to be honest, I would love to own a football club again.
So would I.
What's that, Peter?
So would I.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's really great. And but reality is that I don't think at this stage, you need a lot of energy for it. And I'm probably like what you would be, pretty hands-on, and I'd like to get involved. So not at this stage of my life. But it was one of my great chapters of my life. I loved every minute.
If you're thinking of buying a team in South Africa, give me a call. We'll make a chat. Right. Don't read anything into that, guys. There's not a Siga Boza tip. And then gentleman Siba Lapangela says, and this is a great question, Rob. Ask Rob if Jomo Sono wasn't angry with him after the role Rob played in swaying young Aaron Mokoena from the German team. I think it was Bayer Leverkusen, was it?
Yeah.
To Ajax Amsterdam. Great question. Now, Rob, tell us.
So this is an insider's question.
This is a scoop.
Yeah, this is an insider. It was very complicated around Aaron Mokoena's transfer to Europe. Time is a big healer in life. And funnily enough, Jomo called me out of the a few weeks ago. Called me out of the blue. He'd had a meeting with somebody joint that we know, Mark Haskins, and my name came up, and Jomo said, "Oh, what is he doing? Where is he? Let me give him a call." We had a call and we had a good laugh. And I said to him, "Jomo, in those border governors meetings where we all sat, you were very clever. You used to pull me aside before the meetings, tell me all the things that you actually wanted to ask, but didn't fancy actually asking them. You'd get me wound up. I, with my big mouth, would shoot it off in the meetings. You would sit back and have a little laugh while I was taking a roasting from everybody else." So we had a good laugh about that. But the whole thing with Leverkusen, I wasn't happy with what happened. I was Aaron Mokoena's agent, and basically Jomo did that deal direct with Leverkusen, which was quite intimidating, obviously for a boy of 17 at that age. I mean, and it's Jomo Sono, legend, and so it was obviously an intimidating thing for him, but the reality is that a few weeks into Aaron Mokoena's Leverkusen life, he phoned me up and said, "I really don't want to be. I want to be at Ajax Amsterdam. Please, can you get me out of here, and can we do this deal?" And I remember flying over from South Africa, driving up to Leverkusen, Aaron Mokoena meeting us, myself and the guy from Ajax Amsterdam, meeting us on his bicycle. He was riding around on a bicycle, quite common in Europe. We went to go get his things and took him to Ajax. And later in that week, Ajax had a meeting with Leverkusen to try sort out the money. And the guy from Ajax phoned me. I was back in South Africa by then, having a pizza. And he phoned me at night and he said to me, "Listen, this deal's going to be more expensive than we thought to buy him from Leverkusen. I mean, we had an agreement in advance with Ajax, so this was happened sort of, uh, uh, um, he went to Leverkusen having everything agreed already with Ajax, but without it being signed. And so he said, listen, you've got to knock off X amount of your agent's fee. Players got to do this and that. If you do that, then we can get this deal done. So, I mean, I knew what Aaron wanted to go there, so I just agreed. But I remember saying to him at the time, this is the most expensive pizza I'm likely to have ever in my life. So, so it's, but ultimately Aaron got what he wanted. He got the move. Leverkusen made a nice little earner because there was a lot of profit in the matter of weeks. And Jomo, was upset with him, to be honest.
Question: did Jomo make any money out of it?
Does Jomo not make money out of anything?
Then he would have been happy.
Yeah, he was happy, but you know what? As I say, time is a big healer. We've had a lot of laughs since, and I've got a lot of respect for him and what he's done, and as a player, obviously, with his club as well. So yeah, but there was a stage where it was a little bit, let's say, interesting. but whoever asked that question, interesting.
Then another two quick ones. Zakeli asked, do you have any relationship with African teams on the continent? I mean, obviously not South Africa.
To be honest, no. I've looked after. I've done deals with Victor Wanyama, captain of Kenya, and at one stage I was quite close to the federation, the president, but generally not. No.
All right. Then just a different kind of question. This is from a guy, Babako. He says, what do you think of futsal and how it can be integrated into development in South African football? I mean, it's fantastic in Brazil, and we're similar.
Yeah. Listen, it's a different skill set, I think. And but in terms of close control, first touch, seeing things early, working, finding quick solutions in small spaces. I mean, Peter, that's where you got your name, Trickster Toy. If I remember, you were the king of futsal, weren't you?
Well, indoor and outdoor, but my skills were
of course.
basically all taught playing on the streets and in narrow little spaces, and that's how I developed that skill. I think that South African players have naturally got that kind of skill, but we don't have the bigger space skill at times. The big game awareness, but that comes mainly from coaching. The stuff that we're brilliant at. Mushin Ertugrul said an interesting thing to me. He said, when he first got to Kaizer Chiefs, he said to me, and I think you would echo this as well. If you put his Kaizer Chiefs team in the 18-yard box with two small goals, and you played 7 versus 7, and you put the Bayern Munich team of that time, he said the Ajax team would the Kaizer Chiefs team would beat the Bayern Munich team easily in a tight space. He said, but when you put it on a big pitch, the Bayern Munich team would beat Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a great analogy of South African football. In tight spaces at that stage, in that time of the game in our country, we were exceptionally good in tight spaces, little 1-2s, but not as good, obviously, on a full-size pitch. Today, I'm not sure if we would actually beat Bayern Munich or Kaizer Chiefs would beat Bayern Munich in a small 5-a-side game. But I think futsal, listen, the more you touch the ball in tight areas and be able to play 1 and 2 touch and work your way past players, the better chance you've got of being a better footballer. But then you've also got to understand the bigger picture of a game, where to move on bigger spaces. And I think, and if you watch the PSL, our spatial awareness as players hasn't grown from 96 really as the world football has grown in in the last 20 something years. I mean, world football has expanded considerably.
And Peter, just sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no. Well, I was going to say, and I think maybe that that's something that we could talk about, is that if you look at South American football compared to our football, and we've got about 5 minutes to discuss this. If you look at South American football to our football, similarities are we're the similar kind of players. Maybe not so much with Argentinians, but certainly we're not similar to Southern, but we certainly to Central and Northern South America. We're similar in the kind of build and the way we play football. Brazilian, Colombian, Venezuelan, Peru, etc. They've developed world-class players all over the world. We started developing after '96, and you're at the forefront of this. You've seen that dam get emptier and emptier, and now the dam of talent is basically non-existent in world football of South African players. And to me, we're wealthier. We're a wealthier country with more resources than those South American countries. Yet they produce players in great numbers for Europe, and we don't. Why?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting discussion, this, Peter. I think that historically, South American countries have fared well against European opposition in the old Intercontinental Cup, which then became, developed into the FIFA World Cup. So there's a respect, a healthy respect from the Europeans towards the South Americans.
Earned respect, though, but it's an earned respect.
No, it's an earned respect because it's based on success. It's of these clashes that the teams had. So, in addition, the leagues. I mean, the leagues of Brazil and Argentina are good. They're competitive. They're of a high level. Okay, and you take a situation where, in Spain, for instance, most of the countries in South America have got historical links to Spain, through whatever colonization or whatever happened in the past. I don't, know all the specifics, but there's political links in the past.
Spain
So
did
it's
colonize South America.
What's that, Peter?
Spain did colonize South America. Portugal did to colonize Brazil.
Brazil, yeah. So therefore, these countries enjoy a special status with Spain, and in the case of Brazil, enjoy a special status with Portugal. This allows their players to get in work permits easier, but most importantly of all, to get Spanish and Brazilian and Portuguese passports much easier. Like, somebody like like myself living in Spain, if I wanted a Spanish passport, it would take me over 10 years. A person coming from Argentina, signing for a Spanish club, playing there, I think within 2 years he can apply. And likewise, Brazilians in Portugal. So what's happening is you're getting this movement of players in. They have a style of play that's similar to Spanish and Portuguese, very much different, let's say, to German or British. They're getting their passports fairly quick, and suddenly they become sellable assets because you're then selling European Union players into these other countries. So then what happens? It then creates a circle because then they're playing in Europe, playing at a high level, therefore their national teams improve and further. Or they maintain their high levels, as in the case of Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay. And then the respect continues. So it's really in my opinion, a 360, a continuous upward spiral where I think that they probably got a little bit the advantage over us in South Africa because we got far more hurdles to jump through to get work permits in many countries in Europe. And then you got to start playing and blah, 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 So I think that's a contributing factor. I mean, what do you think? I mean, what points spring to mind?
I think there's another fact. I think the two other factors, Rob. I think the second factor that why we struggle is our professional league, if you want to call it the first truly multiracial professional league. Really, you must count when we entered into FIFA.
Yeah.
And that only happened in the early 90s.
Yeah, 94, 95, somewhere there.
So we've never really been a market for overseas clubs till then. And I think and that was our heyday because we had a great team, and the rest of the world hadn't taken coaching as serious as it's currently taken. And I think we had that window where because we won, we thought we were really good, which we were, but we didn't work hard enough thereafter. So I think there are two factors. I think one, that our historical window of transferring players overseas has been much shorter than South America.
Yeah.
But secondly, I think, and this is the biggest issue of the whole lot for me, we are not geared for long-term growth in football in this country. It's all short-term. I mean, there's no Ajax at Cape Town and Supersport probably with only real academies in those days. And now I don't know if we really have academies there. And we had the School of Excellence. I don't think we really have academies that are actually saying, you know what, we've got to grow players, develop players that are actually going to be able to make it in Europe, and that our league, in lots of instances, is just a stepping stone. And you can exclude teams like Sundowns, Pirates, and Chiefs from that, because there are plenty of other teams here that players can do a stepping stone into Europe. And I think that's what happens in South America. I think everybody wants to play for Boca Juniors, River Plate, etc., etc. But there's so many players getting transferred from other teams for big money. And I think we don't understand, because maybe we're so far away and we don't have the history, as you say. We in this country do not understand the amount of effort that's got to be put in by a club and its academy and the players if you want to have a snowball's chance in hell of actually making it overseas. And I think we need to admit to that, and we need to take ownership of that, and we need to start making certain that we are in the position that we got world-class coaches here that can eventually, within 3, 4, 5, 7 years, take players over there. Because as you say, we've been overtaken by countries like Australia and the United States.
Well, Peter, the MLS is a classic case. I remember some years ago, maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago, MLS clubs had the mentality of holding on to their best young players, and they must play in our league, and we want to develop our league, and blah, blah. They pretty soon realized, well, what's the point? You know, let's get our players, if we can get good, decent prices for our players in Europe, we sell them, and we bring others in that are maybe older or whatever. So what the point there was, they realized their positioning in the marketplace. They realized pretty soon that, because when I owned a club, what was our jackpot? Our jackpot was when we had a really talented 17, 18, 19-year-old who was on the cusp of becoming a regular, but wasn't a regular yet. But he was playing enough minutes for you to say, gee whiz, this guy can play, okay? And then a nice offer came in. You could sell him. Why? Because you were getting a good offer from overseas, and he wasn't a player that your team completely depended upon at that stage. If he had stuck around for a couple more years, he would have become the player that the team depended on, but then it becomes harder to sell them.
Correct.
And so our jackpot was always, if we can sell a guy at 18 or 19 for a decent amount of money, that is the ideal time. And to be honest, for the player's development, that's the time for him to go, you know? So, but I think, Peter, my point, or what I think is, I think for South African soccer to really try and make the next step, and Africa even more. But I mean, let's be frank, West Africans, they do well. They do well in Europe, very well. They're well scouted, they're successful, and they sought after, okay? West Africans and North Africans. If we in South Africa want to make this jump and want to be more in the shop window, so to speak, okay? Because I've been talking the last show about we've fallen off a cliff. And so how do we get back into this shop window? My belief is you have to go with a midweek African Super League. And
I think that's a great shot, and I think we got to do that for a full program in itself, Rob, the Super League. But I think that's a great shot.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Guys, that's it for today. Next week or next time, I promise you we'll be talking the Super League, because that's a game changer, or it may well be something that kills the game. So Rob and I will definitely be chatting about that in our next session together. I want you all to thank you all for listening and watching, and please press the like and subscribe button. Chat soon. Cheers, Rob.
Cheers, Peter.